Chelsea chop. Oh, there's one little bit left. Chelsea chop. Hello, I'm Rosy Hardy from Hardy's Scottish Garden Plants, and today we're going to be talking about the Chelsea chop, as you have just seen. Now, if you want to see other videos of ours, please subscribe and remember to hit the bell notification button. Chelsea chop is a technique of reducing very tall plants, perennial plants, to a lower level so that they grow slightly slower and then do not require staking in the garden. So a plant such as this, Helianthus lemon queen, as you can see, is growing up, and you've got quite a lot of growth on it at the moment. You could let this carry on growing and getting right up to its nearly 2-metre height, but it would then require quite a bit of support. It is much easier if you don't have the time to actually do the Chelsea chop. Now, what is Chelsea chop? Chelsea chop is actually taking the plant, all of this growth, right the way down to almost ground level. And it can be done quite easily if you want to do it quickly by taking a pair of shears and just cutting through and getting rid of all of that growth down to this level. And I missed a bit. Always managed to lose one bit. So you have reduced it right the way down to this height. It looks very severe. You've got other plant material in your garden that's growing up that will cover this. And what happens now is that all the other nodes that are there, all the growing points, will start to grow, and it will grow up just slightly later. It will be fractionally shorter, but it will hold itself up really, really well. Boltonia Latticewoman is a really tall, small white daisy flower, which is great for the back of the border, but it can flop a bit. And Chelsea chop is ideal for this plant. What you need to do on this one, you can see that it's got growth lower down, so you don't really want to cut to there. So it's a matter of making sure which way the plant grows as to how far you do chop it down. Now, it is a chop. You know, it's right the way down. It's taking off that top layer so that all of this young growth in the base here is what is going to be coming up and being your flowering plant. Why has it been called the Chelsea chop? It's actually a lot older gardening technique than that. It is something that has been around for a long time. But for people to remember the time that they would do this kind of technique in the garden is around about Chelsea flower show time, and that is about end of May. But this season, because it's been so cold, you can carry on doing it through till about mid-June. You just have to look at the season. If the season's early and the plants are growing up, they've got to that height of around about 60 centimetres, that's the time to take them down and give them the Chelsea chop. A friend of mine always used to apologise to her plants as she was doing it, and she go, "I'm terribly sorry, but you need to have this. It's like having a haircut." This beautiful plant is Leucanthemella Seratina, has large white daisies on the top of it. Now, instead of doing a complete Chelsea chop, there are certain times when you can do a Chelsea thin. Works really, really well with phlox and monadas and things like that. Or if you have a large clump, then you take half of it down and then you leave the rest growing up and going through. So a Chelsea thin, basically just take every other stem out, and you will, and even the weak ones, they're not wanted, and you just literally thin out the plant so that you have a half of the stems growing, and it makes it so that the plant, parts of the plant that have been cut down have been made lower, so they are all here. These bits carry on growing up, and then this lot grows gradually coming up through here. And because they are growing and are quite sturdy, they hold up the rest of these stems, so you don't actually need to do any support, and it supports itself. This lot will go up and flower really beautifully at the top, and then the ones which are being cut back will come through and flower just fractionally lower, and they will make the whole plant look much, much better. So I've shown you 3 plants. The fourth one here is a Michaelmas daisy, really heavy and thick in here. This is Symphyotrichum and this one is Alma Pötschke. Now this is a really lovely clump forming plant, but when it gets really tall and it has big heavy heads of flower, it tends to do this, which you really don't want. So the technique on this one could be Chelsea thin, or you could do Chelsea chop on it. That's really up to you and how you want to do it and deal with the plant you've got. So there are lots and lots of plants out there that you can do Chelsea chop to: Monarda, Phlox, Helianthus, and the ones that I have shown you here. I hope you've enjoyed the video and please do subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for listening.